Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. In the first story, we'll tell you about the confrontation between our OP and the terrible manager. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Just following orders. I worked retail over the summer, did my best there. I was never late. I showed up on time for shifts I'd been given last minute. I did whatever I was told. My manager, who was not the manager when I started working there, got the old manager fired over some stuff I'm increasingly certain she didn't do because this manager was nice, and the new one was a effing whack job. She got all the people she could fired and filled the already understaffed store with 2 other people, not including myself, a woman who did her damnedest to also be the best, and a woman who quickly revealed herself to be a brown-nosed bee of the worst kind. I mention this because when my manager was trying to get the old manager fired, she told us that if we ever saw something that was out of line and couldn't talk to her, we should take it all to the district manager. So after the old manager was fired and the new folks were hired, she shot me down from my position as assistant manager and pushed the, frankly, a little dense brown-noser up to my position, then started abusing the rest of us. On my final day working there, I wound up in urgent care due to breathing issues and chest pain. When the other good gal couldn't take it anymore, the manager lied about how terrible of a worker she was and said nothing about how she would frequently show up sick or exhausted because she didn't want to lose this job and wanted to do her best up until she couldn't with a toddler at home. But eventually, that last day came for me, and at urgent care, I followed that early advice the manager had given me. I drafted up an email of all the abuse I and other people had been through, got backup statements from people who had watched me through this train wreck, and took a photo of the medical bill. I emailed it all to the district manager. I don't know if that manager's still working there or if anyone I knew by the end still is, but I sleep a lot easier knowing that, at the very least, I threw one hell of a dent in her "I'm the best and everyone loves me" armor. And all I had to do was follow her instructions. And our second story. Call the HOA because my yard is devaluing your house? Okay. This is a story of my mother's. She's always been incredibly hard-headed, but this sticks out a lot from my teenage years. Once a year, she always had us pull everything out of the garage, lots of boxes. My mom has a concerning amount of possessions, so we go through it and clean and reorganize. This particular year, the couple who owned the house across from us, flippers, were in the process of selling their house, unhappy with my mother's unsightly driveway covered in boxes soiling their good image. They made a call to the HOA. By the time my mother received the letter, the mess had been put away, but they decided to get her on a few other complaints, such as the bikes against the side of the house and the patchy gravel. She had 2 weeks to have everything up to standards. Petty and easily frustrated, my mother knew immediately who called, since the couple had come over and told her flat out with their renovations they were selling that house for way more than any other house in this neighborhood and would appreciate if she respected that by keeping her property on par. For the next 2 weeks, every box from that garage was in our driveway. The couch and the living room TV came next. This was early summer, so it was perfect weather to sit in your yard in your short shorts and sports bra. My mom made sure to wave and smile every time they brought someone over for a showing. The final step came at the end of that second 2 weeks, though. After the yard had been cleaned up and cleared by the HOA, my mom went to the local Walmart and bought a for sale sign. She wrote about 1/4 of their ridiculous asking price on it and finished off with a big "sold" written across the front and stuck it out in our yard. No clue what they ended up selling their house for, but it sat empty for a while, so I assume it was below offer. And our last story. You are just cattle to me. To set the scene, I was working for a then cable TV company. The call center I was working at had been filled with guys poached from dial-up support companies countrywide to support this new super-fast broadband that was being trialed in the country for the first time. 500K connections. Woohoo! I say this because that meant our call center at the time was full of some of the best support engineers anywhere in the country. Some of the most intelligent people I've ever known. Anyway, after about a year there, 4 of us were asked to look into complaints sent to the managing director, hereafter known as Big Boss, about the service. Mostly these were the original brand Karens of the day, but occasionally the customer complaining was someone rather important and they needed the special touch, so to speak. Turns out the four of us had quite different skills but complemented each other perfectly. And before long, we were firm friends with the big boss's personal assistant at head office and had very good reputations to boot after some devilishly difficult issues. Oh yeah, this is before Google, so being good meant you knew your crap, not just how to look it up. It was a great place to work. Turnover was practically zero. The fact all of our staff were experienced before getting to us meant that we knew what we were getting into. Then came the new director, hereafter referred to as A-Hole. A-Hole had come from another call center in the company, a customer services call center. He was also completely inept technically. Seriously, this guy once told me that directors don't use Excel and only Word, so I needed to copy all the spreadsheets into Word so he could modify the content and pass off his bullcrap figures showing all was well. He didn't understand how Excel worked as it transpired. Anyway, all was not well. In the short time he'd been there, he'd alienated most of his best staff. He tried to turn the staff into script monkeys as he wanted every case fixed in X minutes. We were rebuilding TCP IP stacks, hacking registries. Hell, we even talked a few people through Win98 rebuilds. You ever try to talk your gran through changing a ringtone over phone? Now imagine trying to get gran to rebuild Windows after a Macrocrap and Spymanic competed to see who could screw up her machine faster. Now try doing it in 10 minutes, or get hauled into A-Hole's office to be screamed at for effing up his figures. Morale was utterly obliterated, and we started losing good people. Head office knew something was wrong, so sent word down the line that Big Boss was coming for a meet and greet. That line went through A-Hole, so of course on that day, some of the more vocal amongst us were rotated off. Those selected to meet the Big Boss, I think the nice word is sycophants, or people who were instructed what to say and followed out of fear. Upshot, Big Boss went away thinking all was well, and there must be some other reason for the issues on site. My breaking point came when my team was given an impossible task. By this point, I'd already handed in my 30 days, was about to become a dad, so needed to get a proper career going. He wanted a flow diagram of every possible fault we were dealing with and its solution. And he wanted it all on a single piece of A3 paper. We objected, he demanded, we failed, we got reamed. Our manager got reamed, and let me tell you, she defended the hell out of us. We tried in vain to explain the nature of the calls, to explain that the reason we paid these very clever people to do this job was because they were essentially playing tech support to a nation of people who turned on a computer for the first time ever today, did something they didn't know was stupid, and broke their machine. That means their internet didn't work, hence our problem. His response, at a volume comparable with a tornado jet taking off at full burner, "I don't give a F. Let me get this through your stupid effing heads. You are nothing, and I am a director, and when I tell you to do something, you do it, or I'll fire every single one of you. I can replace any one of you anytime I want because you're nothing but cattle. Now get the F out of my office." I went home livid. My girlfriend at the time, pregnant with our first, worked in the same office, so while I was getting out, she'd have to continue dealing with A-Hole. Knowing how he intended to treat my friends and family, I needed to do something. I didn't have a clue what I could do. Friday, I go into work ostensibly to say my goodbyes and do exit interview, paperwork, and such. One of those goodbyes was a phone call to Big Boss's PA. My saying goodbye was a shock because I'd been expressly forbidden to tell them over the previous month by, you guessed it, A-Hole. She wanted to know why I was leaving. I told her. She asked me if I minded her telling Big Boss what I said. I'll be honest, I didn't seriously believe anything would come of it, but what the hell, I thought. Sure, I'll get back to you soon. And she's gone. 20 minutes later, she calls me and says Big Boss wants to talk to me, so can he have my personal mobile number? I give it, and sure enough, minutes later, the big man himself calls. The next 30 minutes is spent detailing why I was leaving, why we'd lost nearly 100 people already and had 18 resignations that week alone. Why didn't I hear about this when I was there the other week? So I related the little personnel shuffle and the threats. This was my moment, and I'll tell you, I carped the hell out of that DM. Me. Look, Big Boss, I get all you have is my word, and I could be just some disgruntled dip crap, but my friends and family are going to have to work here after I'm gone. And by family, I meant my pregnant girlfriend, so I have to do something. If you want to find out the truth, here's what you do. Turn up on site unannounced for a day. Send out your own email to the site as soon as you arrive, giving no time for a-hole and his cronies to get to anyone. Tell them to come to you if they have any concerns. Here's a list of people that should corroborate much of what I've said. The rest, it's up to them if they want to do something. Then decide if I'm a dip crap. After a bit more chatting, the call ended and I went back to say goodbye to everyone. I told a few people, including my manager, what I'd done and told them if Big Boss did turn up, to get in there and tell him what's going on. Then I bid them all farewell and said I'd see them all at the mass leaving due at the end of the month. I'm at my new job the Tuesday after and get a text from the girlfriend. Holy crap, Big Boss is here, unannounced. More text from the other colleague saying pretty much the same thing. From what I gathered afterwards, Big Boss did exactly what I suggested, and it played out pretty much as I thought it might. There was a queue, a long one. That night, A-hole was summoned to the Big Boss's impromptu office, and after that meeting, he went home. He was never seen again. I did get a call from Big Boss. He can't discuss details, but I'll be very pleased to know I'm not a dip crap. Leaving due was pretty cool too. I think on entry I was told I wouldn't be paying for a single drink that night. On entry I was told that I wouldn't be paying for a single drink that night. From there my memory goes from fuzzy to total blank. The hangover the next 2 days was brutal, but totally worth it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.